About the Kybalion.
Okay, so we're diving into some pretty mysterious territory today, a book that's steeped in, well, let's just say it, a lot of hype. The Kybalion. Ancient wisdom, secret societies, you know the drill. But is there really any substance to these claims of unlocking, like, universal secrets?
What I find fascinating is the enduring power of these ancient traditions, especially when it comes to ancient Egypt. It just seems to capture our imaginations.
Right. And the Kybalion taps into that big time. It claims to be based on the teachings of, get this, Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great sage, no less.
Yeah, talk about a legendary figure, right? Hermes Trismegistus is like the godfather of wisdom, said to have mastered everything from like alchemy to astrology. And the whole Hermetic tradition, which he supposedly founded, was all about keeping this knowledge under wraps, revealing it only to those deemed worthy.
Okay, so we're talking about a secret society of knowledge here. Was it really about exclusivity, or was there more to this whole secrecy thing?
Think of it this way. Imagine having access to the most powerful knowledge in the universe, literally. The Hermeticists believed this stuff could be seriously misused if it fell into the wrong hands. It was about safeguarding the teachings, making sure they were used for good. Like, you wouldn't give a toddler a stick of dynamite, right?
Right, that makes sense. So cracking open the Kybalion is kind of like getting a peek behind the curtain of this once secret world. Think we can handle it?
Let's find out. The text lays out 7 Hermetic principles. It claims these principles hold profound truths about us and the universe. But here's the catch. The real power isn't just reading about it, it's understanding and actually applying these principles.
Challenge accepted. Lay it on me. What's the first mind-bending concept we're tackling?
It all starts with the principle of mentalism. And the Kybalion doesn't mess around. It comes right out and says, the all-el is mind, the universe is mental.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying we're all just figments of some cosmic imagination or something? Because that's a lot to process.
It's suggesting that the ultimate reality, the very foundation of everything, isn't physical stuff, but something more like a universal mind. This infinite thinking entity, which the Kybalion calls the AL, is the source of everything. And the physical world as we experience it is actually a mental creation of this AL.
Okay, so like, our reality is a thought in the mind of this ultimate being. If that's true, then where do we fit into all of this?
That's the question, isn't it? If our world is fundamentally a mental construct, it challenges everything we think we know about, well, reality and our place in it. Does it change how you think about your ability to impact the world around you?
It's certainly a lot to wrap my head around. Okay, so the universe is mental, check. What's the next mind-blowing principle the Kybalion throws our way?
It's the principle of correspondence. This one dives into the interconnectedness of, well, everything. The text puts it pretty succinctly. As above, so below. As below, so above.
Okay, I've heard that phrase before, but what does it actually mean in this context?
It suggests this kind of mirroring effect between different levels of existence. The patterns and laws we see in the microcosm, like in nature or even within ourselves, are reflections of the macrocosm, the universe at large.
So by studying, say, the patterns in nature, we could gain insights into the workings of the universe itself. Or am I taking this too literally?
You're on the right track, and it works both ways. For example, understanding the movements of the planets might offer clues about the dynamics within our own lives. The Hermeticists believed that by studying one level of reality, we could unlock secrets about others.
I'm starting to see how these principles connect. So if we're seeing relationship problems in our lives, could understanding the patterns of the planets actually give us clues on how to fix them?
That's the kind of question the Kybalion wants you to ask. It's about finding those connections, recognizing that the universe operates on principles we can learn from. But let's move on to the next principle, the principle of vibration. This one's a bit easier to grasp, maybe. The Kybalion says, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's like that saying, everything is energy. Even solid objects, when you break them down, are made up of vibrating atoms, right? But how does that tie back into this idea of a mental universe?
That's where things get really interesting.
So if everything's vibing, from like the tiniest atom to the thoughts bouncing around in our heads, what's the takeaway? What can we actually do with that knowledge?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Remember how we were talking about the universe being mental at its core? Well, the Kybalion suggests that these vibrations aren't just random. They actually reflect different levels of mental energy. And get this, by changing our vibration, we can actually change our reality.
Hold up. Are we talking about, like, manifestation here? Because I've tried those vision boards and, well, let's just say my dream apartment hasn't magically appeared yet.
It's not quite as simple as slapping a picture on a board and, like, willing it into existence. But the underlying principle is similar. The Kybalion argues that our thoughts, our emotions, everything we experience has a vibratory frequency. And by consciously shifting those thoughts and emotions to a higher frequency, we can actually attract different experiences into our lives.
Okay, that's both incredibly empowering and also kind of terrifying at the same time. So if I'm, like, stuck in this negative spiral, it's not just bad luck, it's because I'm, putting out that low vibe energy. I need some practical tips here. How do we actually change our vibration?
Well, it starts with awareness, recognizing when you're stuck in those lower vibrations, fear, anger, self-doubt, and then making a conscious effort to shift your focus. The Kybalion suggests things like meditation, focusing on gratitude, surrounding yourself with positive influences. It's about actively cultivating a higher vibrational state.
Okay, so no shortcuts, but it's about taking control of our energy. And this connects back to what we were discussing earlier about the principle of correspondence, right? If we want to see positive changes out there, we need to start by cultivating that positivity within ourselves. It's like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. It all ties together. But let's keep exploring these principles because the Kybalion doesn't stop there. The next one, the principle of polarity, is one of my favorites. But it can be a little tricky to get your head around. It states, everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites.
Hold on a sec. Does that mean there's, like, no good and evil, no right and wrong? I need an example here. My brain's starting to hurt.
Think of it like this. Imagine a spectrum of heat and cold. On one end, you have, like, freezing cold. And on the other end, you have scorching heat. See, like opposites, right?
Right.
But they're really just varying degrees of the same thing, temperature.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this. So, according to the Kybalion, things that appear to be opposites are actually just different points on a spectrum. But how does that apply to our lives, our emotions? Are you saying love and hate are the same thing?
Not the same thing, no. But different expressions of the same fundamental energy. Think about it. Intense love can quickly turn to intense hate in the wrong circumstances, right? Or fear, often if you really look at it, it stems from a desire for something opposite, like a need for security. Recognizing this duality is key to understanding the principle of polarity.
This is blowing my mind. So if we, like, tap into this principle, can we actually shift our experience, like transform negative emotions into positive ones?
That's the idea. The Kybalion suggests that by understanding this principle, we can consciously shift our position on the spectrum. It's not about denying or suppressing those so-called negative emotions, but recognizing them as opportunities for transformation.
Okay, this idea of transmutation is pretty fascinating. Does the Kybalion give us any tools to, like, actually work with that energy? I'm thinking about, those emotional ups and downs we were talking about earlier.
Great segue, because the next principle tackles that very topic. It's the principle of rhythm, and it states, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything.
So, like, how I can go from feeling super motivated one minute to wanting to crawl under a blanket and binge watch bad reality TV the next. Is it saying we're all just slaves to our emotions swinging back and forth?
It's not that we're powerless, but that we're often unaware of these natural rhythms, and that lack of awareness keeps us trapped in the cycle. Think about the ocean. The tides ebb and flow, but the ocean itself remains constant. The Kybalion suggests that we too can find that point of stillness, that center, even amidst the constant flux of life.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? Because sometimes it feels like I'm on a runaway train, not a gentle ocean wave. Is there some secret hermetic technique for achieving emotional stability?
The Kybalion calls it the art of neutralization. It suggests that by becoming aware of these rhythmic swings in our lives and in our reactions to them, we can start to step back from the drama a bit.
What exactly is the art of neutralization? Like, how do we actually do that?
It's about recognizing when the pendulum is swinging too far in one direction, whether it's excitement, despair, anger, whatever, and consciously choosing to center ourselves, to come back to that place of inner stillness. It's about observing those thoughts and emotions without getting completely swept away by them. It takes practice, but with awareness, it's possible to navigate those ups and downs with a little more grace and resilience.
So instead of getting caught in the wave, we learn to, like, surf it. I like the sound of that. But let's be honest, life isn't all sunshine and emotional surfing. Sometimes things happen that just completely knock us off balance. Does the Kybalion address those curveballs life throws at us?
Absolutely. And that brings us to the principle of cause and effect. It states, every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law.
Okay, so like karma. What goes around comes around.
It's similar, but not exactly the same thing. The Kybalion isn't saying we're being punished for our past deeds. It's about understanding that every action, every thought, every choice we make creates a ripple effect. It creates consequences. But here's the empowering part. The Kybalion also suggests we're not just passive recipients of fate.
Okay, now you're talking my language. Tell me more about this not being passive recipients of fate thing.
Well, the Kybalion speaks about many planes of causation, meaning there are higher and lower levels of cause and effect. By tapping into those higher planes, through our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of these principles, we can actually influence outcomes in a more powerful way. We can become active participants in creating our reality.
So it's not just about accepting whatever life throws at us. It's about understanding we actually have the power to influence, to create, to shape our experiences. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It is powerful. And that brings us to a crucial point in the Kybalion, understanding the difference between being a cause and being caused.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What does it mean to be a cause rather than being caused? And how do we actually make that shift?
Being caused means reacting to circumstances, letting external factors dictate your emotions, your actions. It's like being tossed around by the waves. Being a cause, on the other hand, means aligning yourself with those higher planes of causation we were talking about. It means taking responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and understanding how they influence the world around you.
So it's about moving from a place of reaction to a place of creation. Instead of just letting life happen to us, we consciously participate in shaping the kind of life we want to live.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the power of your own mind, your own vibration. And that's a concept that ties directly into the next principle outlined in the Kybalion, the principle of gender.
Okay, we're back. And I gotta say, my mind is still processing that last principle. Being a cause is a powerful concept, but it also feels like a lot of responsibility. And now we're on to the principle of gender. What does gender have to do with all of this?
Yeah, no, it sounds a little out of place after talking about cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
But this principle is often misunderstood. The Kybalion isn't talking about gender in the traditional sense, male and female. It's referring to the masculine and feminine principles as fundamental creative forces that exist, everywhere, even within each of us.
Okay, so not about physical gender, but more like energies. Tell me more about these masculine and feminine principles.
Think of it like the classic yin and yang symbol. The masculine principle is associated with action, willpower, outward expression. The feminine principle is more about receptivity, intuition, creativity. They're not limited to one gender or the other. They exist within each of us.
So it's about finding a balance between these two energies within ourselves. How does understanding that help us apply these other principles we've been discussing?
That's a great question. And it leads us beautifully into the final and perhaps the most significant principle in the Kybalion. The principle of the all-in-all.
The all-in-all sounds very encompassing. Break it down for me.
Remember how we talked about the principle of mentalism, that the universe is a mental creation of the all? Well, the principle of the all-in-all takes it a step further. It suggests that not only is everything in the AL, but the AL is also in everything.
You're saying this universal mind is somehow present within us, within everything we experience.
Exactly. The Kybalion suggests we are not separate from this source of creation, but rather we are expressions of it. Each of us carries a spark of the divine within us.
Wow. That is a powerful thought. But if that's true, if we're all connected to this infinite source, how do we access it? How do we tap into that power?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The Kybalion suggests that by understanding and applying these 7 principles, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender, we begin to align ourselves with the all-in-all. We start to see those principles operating in our own lives, and we can consciously choose to work with them rather than against them.
So it's about becoming aware of these universal laws, these principles, and aligning ourselves with them. Is that the key to unlocking our full potential, to becoming causes rather than being caused?
That's the idea. It's a journey of self-discovery, of mastering our thoughts and emotions, of understanding the interconnectedness of everything. And the Kybalion is like a roadmap guiding us toward that greater understanding of ourselves and the universe.
This has been an incredible deep dive, but I have to be honest, it's a lot to take in. Where do we even begin?
The beauty is you can start anywhere. Choose the principle that resonates most with you and start applying it to your life. Experiment, observe. The more you work with these principles, the more you'll start to see their power in your own experiences. It's not about becoming like a hermetic master overnight. It's about taking those small steps day by day and trusting the process.
So no graduation ceremony, no secret handshake. It's all about applying this ancient wisdom to our modern lives and seeing what unfolds.
Exactly. And that's what I find so inspiring about the Kybalion. It's not about blind faith or dogma. It's about asking questions, exploring, and discovering the truth for yourself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning of a much larger conversation. The Kybalion offers us a glimpse into a universe of possibilities. And I, for one, am excited to keep exploring those possibilities, both on a personal level and, of course, in future deep dives.
I'm with you on that. The journey of self-discovery is never truly over. There's always more to learn, more to explore. And as the Kybalion reminds us, the power to shape our reality lies within each and every one of us.
So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the pages of the Kybalion. We hope you found this deep dive insightful, maybe even a little bit life-changing. Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep diving deep.